I would like to ask you, what are 2 or 3 of the most common misconceptions about finance?
The biggest misconception people have is that finance मेरा काम नहीं.
Finance को सोचते हैं it's about trading and saving and equity and why not? It is all that. But can you help us understand the distinction between personal finance and
I think
business
broadly
finance?
break it into 3: personal, corporate, business finance, and national. First of all, accounts and finance are 2 different subjects. Accountant का काम accounting है. Finance the buck stops with. क्योंकि realize नहीं करते, very heavy price is paid for it. To the ultimate.
Because they don't realize कि finance मेरा
उनको
काम
लगता है वो हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा.
Accountant कर रहा है.
हाँ.
But accounts is not finance.
Finance हर एक का काम है.
हर एक का काम.
अकाउंटेंट तो पोस्टमार्टम करता है. एंड दैट
Postmortem
फेलो
कर
कैन नॉट
रहा है.
अंडू. हाँ, वो पोस्टमार्टम, हमारे जैसे लोग पोस्टमार्टम करते हैं.
But finance तो daily हो रहा है.
हर एक्शन में हो रहा है.
This is crazy.
Every buying decision is a financial decision. Every selling decision is a financial decision. Every hiring decision is a financial decision. अच्छा, certain things sound very glamorous. Oh, investment banker. तुमको banker बनना है. 2 internships, but he spends 4, 5 years studying a subject, and then when you get into the profession, you realize, यार ये तो
नहीं करना था.
So crazy.
Because बाहर से everything looks glamorous.
Internships, therefore, are a must. There are countries in Europe, Greece, Portugal, Spain, Italy, paying the price of bad finance management, Venezuela, South America, Sri Lanka. So, at every level, finance management. India में 1991 से the whole scenario has changed because country's finance management changed. The other day I was writing in the Sunday Musing, there are 2 people. One, much higher income, but lack of ability to invest. Second, with a lower income, but who understands how to invest. The second fellow in the long run will be far better off than the first one.
Wow.
So this is all personal finance.
Hi friends and welcome to this episode of the Spirit of Enterprise. Now, financial freedom is something that all of us want, right? And the last I checked, just a couple of months back, there are more than 232,000 finance influencers on social media. But today, I want to make you meet someone who I call the godfather of Indian finance training. With 7 books and 1 in the making, hundreds of hours of recorded finance training content, and been running a finance training masterclass for the last 3 decades. Mr. Anil Lamba is a name that everyone in India who runs business or anything to do with finance knows. Hi Anil, and thank you so much for being on this show, The Spirit of Podcast, with us today.
Real pleasure, Aditya. Thank you so much for calling me today.
Dr. Anil Lamba, you're a CA.
Yes.
Right? And today we understand training, we understand content, but 30 years back, CA एक successful profession छोड़ के, उस समय doctor, engineer and if at all third would be CA, right? ये छोड़ के getting into a training business, what exactly were you thinking? I mean, I'm sure people must have called you crazy.
नहीं छोड़ के नहीं किया था. This was in addition to what I was doing. I was a practicing CA. Teaching had never ever even crossed my mind. Had somebody asked me then if you'll ever become a teacher, I would have said you're crazy. It never even crossed my mind. But I, maybe foolishly, maybe not. In hindsight, it wasn't foolish. But at that time, I used to wonder. The day I passed out, I decided to set up my practice.
The day you passed out?
I said, no, didn't work ever.
Okay.
Now, frankly, one is not even equipped. Even though CA, 3 years of training is supposed to equip you to practice. But where I did my training, we were not taught that much. We did more of a clerical kind of stuff. So I learned how to prepare an income tax return and file it after I became a practicing CA. I didn't learn during my training. So I was ill-equipped to be a practicing CA, but I don't know why, hell-bent. So I set up my so-called practice day 1. Now it's बोलने को ठीक है, practicing CA, client वाइट तो था. I remember the first client was a friend of mine, senior to me in age, he said, Anil, I need to make a partnership firm. Will you do the legalities? I didn't even know that there is something called a partnership deed. We were not taught in my training firm. But I don't know how, I always had huge amount of confidence. I said, हाँ, karte hain. Confidence not to cheat. कि मुझे ये confidence है कि तू कल आ जा. And I'm sure between now and tomorrow, I'll know everything about it.
You will learn it on the go.
Complete confidence. I'm not cheating you. I'm not fooling you. But I don't know today. If I tell you, I don't know, you won't come to me. Then you go in a tizzy, running here and there. Met another friend. Are you running your business as a partnership firm? He said, yes. Say, is there something called a deed? He said, yes. Usko padh ke. Next day, you're ready with question. Yeah. So point is, I mean, it was such fun, Aditya, I can't tell you.
Wow.
I used to tell my friends those days कि लोग शुरू करते हैं, struggle period होता है, they crib. बाद में जाके बोलते हैं अरे क्या good days. I said मैं ये good days I will enjoy when they are happening. I won't look back and say. So उन दिनों also I used to have a great ball. So and then management colleges tend to invite. You know कौन CA बन गया? Few people. अभी when I appeared, 7,500 people had appeared and 57 had become CAs. So you can imagine,
God.
75 would have made it 1%.
Wow.
So everybody comes to know so-and-so has become. So I got an invitation to teach in a management college. First reaction was, nahi, padhane ko thodi CA kiya. But then you realize as a practicing CA, you better keep in touch with your subject. Because if you don't get a particular kind of client for months, आज तो pass out हुए हैं, सब fresh है. 6 महीने बाद कोई आएगा तो you start fumbling. That's not the way. So the logic I applied was teaching will help me refresh what I know.
Teaching will help you refresh
Keep
your
my knowledge refreshed.
This was your original
That
story
was my thinking.
when you got into training.
This is all before I took the first lecture.
Yeah, okay.
I remember sitting in that college with the director who called me and he said, Anil, you may be good, you may be bad. We don't know. I also didn't know because I never taught before. He said, I go by feedback. I said, okay. So you take a lecture. If students say it's good, you're on. I said, okay.
Customer satisfaction.
Kab lena hai? He said, it's 5 to 2. 2 baje, ghanti bajegi. So 5 minutes before the first lecture of my life, I didn't know I was supposed to take it. तो खैर वो लेक्चर लिया, मस्ट फीडबैक मस्ट हैव बीन गुड, आई वाज ऑन. बट वो ऐसा फोबिया बन गया, उसके बाद आज तक मैंने कभी लेक्चर की तैयारी नहीं की. आई वॉक इन अनप्रिपेयर्ड मतलब फॉर्चुनेटली नवा था तो मैटर तो सब था. So there is zero. One of the, I'm telling you why I got so involved into teaching.
Right.
It was only fun. There's no pressure. There's no tayari, there is no study, there is no, you walk in and say, aaj kya karna hai? And then you start taking it off. But then those were the good days of chalk and blackboard or a whiteboard and a marker. So you have the freedom. Aaj kya karna hai? And times demanded presentations, keynote, PPT. So unfortunately, what I hate is that presentation decides what I'm going to say because it's already there.
It locks you in.
It locks you in. You know, somewhere along the way, I started that 3-month course, which you did almost 3 decades back. Now, first of all, that course itself was by fluke. Before that, you know, this college teaching, that bug had come. But
What
college,
is the name of the course?
Now it's called Finance Edge.
Finance Edge.
अब college teaching में क्या होता है? लोग पढ़ते हैं to pass exams. I used to enjoy that a lot. But then when the first corporate invitation came, again by fluke, then you discovered a whole new world. These guys are the ones who are going to apply. That kick was totally different. Then you say, ये लोग तो exam के लिए पढ़ रहे हैं, वो तो apply करेंगे.
वो actually application करेंगे और इसको.
Then the impact is felt. So then धीरे धीरे I gave up college teaching very soon. I mean, this all had for 3-4 years. But then corporate invitation. So I never shifted to teaching. I was a full-time practicing CA.
But you kept taking.
When anybody would invite me, I'd go. I would never say no. So the more invitations came, the more I used to delegate my CA work. CA work is completely delegatable. If I don't want, I can be there only for signing. If I trust my subordinates, and I had wonderful subordinates. So that kept on growing. And then this is only on invitation. Then one day I said, if everybody wants to learn this, why don't we organize? So we started organizing one-day finance for non-finance programs. Now, typical feedback after a one-day program used to be, Anil, this is not enough. I came here because I thought finance is important, but now I realize it's far more important than I thought it is. Number two, I came here because I thought, zaruri hai, magar I'll be in for a boring, torturous day. But this was fun. It kind of borders on entertainment. But the most important feedback was, they said, I came here because I didn't understand the subject. At the end of the day, I still don't understand. Now I understand what I don't understand. I need more. So now, how do I give you more, yaar? मेरा तो college नहीं है. बाद में हमने college start किया था, but तब तो college भी नहीं था. We used to do it in a 5-star. I said, 1 day, 2 day, affordable. I can't give you more. People kept asking, and I kept kind of refusing. I started feeling they think I don't care about them. So to dispel that notion, it's not that I don't care. So one day I remember, I not even married them. I called about 25 of them for dinner, Blue Diamond poolside. And I said, listen, you guys have been asking, I need more.
These were people from the corporate industry.
These are people who have done my one-day session. Yeah, from corporates. All business, either business people, SME owners, or from corporates. And I said, you guys have been asking, I need more. I have decided, let's do a 3-month course. Kyun 3 month bola? Aaj tak mujhe pata nahi. I could have said 2 months. I could have said, मुंह से निकल गया. So it became 3 months. वो 30 साल से चल रहा है. 3 month को जो start किया था. अब खाली shrink कर दिया उसको. Now, and I said, but I need to be in office. I'm a CA, practicing CA. So I'll do it before office hours, 7:30 to 9 a.m.
7:30 to 9 a.m. in the morning. I remember doing that.
वही किया. And I said, I need to travel. My work demands once in a while I travel. So we'll do 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that I get 4 clear days. So selfishly designed to suit only me. My logic was, कोई आएगा नहीं, किसी को suit नहीं होने वाला. Now you can't say I don't care. I tried.
So grudgingly, चलो करते हैं.
बोल दिया. वो 25 में से 18 लोग join हो गए.
Wow, that's a big hit rate.
I thought, चलो एक batch करके खत्म करेंगे. That first batch brought the second. Second खत्म हुआ, third आ गया. Third खत्म हुआ, fourth आ गया. 142 batches are over 30 plus years. 143rd batch is about to begin.
What a story.
Now, but the point I was trying to make was something else. So उन दिनों, if somebody had attended maybe the first 10 batches of the 3-month course, you would have thought I'm attending 10 different courses. Because I used to walk in with a pen.
It kept evolving.
मुझे पता ही नहीं था पिछली बार क्या किया ना. Walk in, आज क्या चाहिए? अच्छा ये चाहिए, start कर.
You didn't have a curriculum or a syllabus.
No curriculum. अच्छा, at the end of it, somebody would say, कुछ notes मिलेगा? So notes चाहिए. I used to go back to office. आज क्या किया? Dictate करता था. I'm so lazy, Aditya. My study material, which I used for years, was then a compilation of those notes. But the end result is, that is the reason I have so much fun.
कोई
तैयारी नहीं, कुछ सोचना नहीं, जो बोलो we start up on that. So next batch में याद नहीं पिछली बार क्या गया, तो दूसरे. उसके बाद ये PPT से ना, today it's become a fix. Now I know first session में क्या, second में क्या. उसका अच्छा भी बात है, मगर उसका वो थोड़ा सा चाम निकल जाता है.
And you know what I love is that fun, that energy that shows, on you. Let's Enterprise we say कि हुनर भी होना चाहिए, कामयाबी भी होनी चाहिए, लेकिन मजा आना चाहिए.
हुनर से ज्यादा मजा आना चाहिए. हुनर can be acquired.
That spirit. But your story reminds me of what in a lot of Marwadi business families we say कि पहले ऑर्डर लेके आ जाओ, बनाना सीख लेंगे.
क्योंकि बना लो और ऑर्डर नहीं मिला तो very frustrating.
कोई फायदा नहीं.
Very frustrating.
And that is really, like you said, learning on the go. You have that confidence.
Confidence होना चाहिए. So 2 things. Number 1, don't promise and then don't deliver.
Right.
कभी नहीं होना चाहिए. You go out of your way. Number 2, I feel तुम 10 गुना ज़्यादा charge करो. Doesn't matter. मगर उसने जिसने pay किया, he should come back and say, Anil, it was worth every penny. I would have happily paid more. Then you can charge.
Deliver like crazy.
Correct.
And confidence, what I'm hearing from you, is the confidence that even if I don't know, I will learn it.
But this was at age 23, 24, 25. पता नहीं कहाँ से आता था. अब डर लगता सोच के क्या करते थे हम.
No, but I mean, it rings so many bells for me because when in my first year of doing my PGDM program at IIM Ahmedabad, I think after that 1 year we got grilled so hard. उसके बाद it's not that we knew finance or we knew operations or marketing, but ये confidence था कि बता दो क्या सीखना है, 24 hours में सीख लूंगा.
True.
Which is what I'm hearing from you when you started your journey way back. So from this finance edge, 143
Third start हो रहा है.
batches in 30 years, and I think I was probably in the first 5 or 6 batches. Way back, you used to have it at Blue Diamond Hotel. I think I must have paid 20,000. Today, this course is for 3,75,000.
It started with 3,750.
With 3,070. So you just added 2 zeros. So today it's at 3,75,000 plus GST. And I know, I was 18, I think, when I attended that course. Some of those things were bouncers, but I think my idea of money, my idea of what an asset is, what a liability is, got shaped there. Now, Anil, you must have had couple of thousands of business people and entrepreneurs who've learned from you in tens of thousands. I would like to ask you, what are 2 or 3 of the most common misconceptions about finance that you find entrepreneurs make consistently?
The biggest misconception people have is that finance मेरा काम नहीं है, accountant का काम है. First of all, accounts and finance are 2 different subjects. Accountant का काम accounting है. Finance, the buck stops with the owner. But क्योंकि realize नहीं करते, very heavy price is paid for it. To the ultimate price.
Because they don't realize कि finance मेरा
उनको
काम
लगता है वो हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा.
Accountant कर रहा है.
हाँ.
But accounts is not finance.
Finance हर एक का काम है.
हर एक का काम.
अकाउंटेंट तो पोस्टमार्टम करता है. जब तक अकाउंट्स वाला, मतलब जिसको हम फाइनेंस वाला बोलते हैं, by the time that fellow comes into the picture, the good or the damage is already done. And that fellow cannot undo. हाँ, वो पोस्टमार्टम, हमारे जैसे लोग पोस्टमार्टम करते हैं.
But finance तो डेली हो रहा है.
हर एक्शन में हो रहा है.
This is crazy.
Every buying decision is a financial decision. Every selling decision is a financial decision. Every hiring decision is a financial decision. And anything else that you do. Now, company's finance management is a collection of financial implication of every action.
Wow.
So unless financial literacy goes top to bottom,
literally top to bottom,
top to bottom,
everyone in the organization should
has
be
to understand.
literate.
Yes.
Not just the accounts or the finance person.
Correct, exactly. So that is what we do. We create financially intelligent organizations. Now, when everybody has taken financially intelligent decisions, when the so-called finance fellow comes into the picture, he will say, wow, we've done very well. And if those guys have messed up, this guy will say, we're making a loss. मगर ये फाइनेंस वाला थोड़ी प्रॉफिट कमा के देता है या लॉस बनाता है, वो तो कैलकुलेट करता है. So the people who call themselves non-finance, their actions generate profit for the company. The people you call as finance people, their actions calculate profit for the company. अब बताओ real finance वाला कौन है, जो generate करता है या जो calculate करता है?
Generate करता है.
No, see the paradox. जो real finance वाला है वो अपने आप को non-finance बोलता है.
जो actually generate कर रहा है वो अपने आप को non-finance समझता है.
And the moment you say non-finance, according to me, you're washing your hands of the responsibility of your actions. Or the moment you start saying, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a sales cum finance person. I'm not a production man, I'm a production cum finance person. You are saying, I am not only responsible for my action, I'm responsible for doing financially intelligent actions.
Brilliant. Or even, I'm not just a creative person, but creative plus finance person.
Absolutely.
I'm not just a teacher, but a teacher plus finance person.
मेरा बस चले तो मैं मैंडेटरी कर दूं, विजिटिंग कार्ड में होना चाहिए फाइनेंस कम सेल्स गाय, फाइनेंस कम HR पर्सन, फाइनेंस कम प्रोडक्शन. वो फाइनेंस पहले, बाकी बाद में.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Beautiful.
So,
Anil, a lot of my young friends are very ambitious about, the career in finance, and they want to kind of become investment banker one day, and, or, big investment managers buying and selling companies, and they want to know what is the path, to finance. But mera question ye hai ki finance actually hota kya hai? Is it spreadsheets? Is it, dealing with tax?
Accounting.
Hota kya hai finance?
Okay, finance is two big an umbrella. फाइनेंस में कॉर्पोरेट फाइनेंस आएगा, फाइनेंस में बैंकिंग आएगा, फाइनेंस में इंश्योरेंस आएगा, फाइनेंस में स्टॉक मार्केट आता है, फाइनेंस में इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग आता है. These are various dimensions, all under the umbrella of finance.
Right.
When somebody says, I want to be a finance person, as you correctly said, first you got to understand what the hell do you mean. Acha, certain things sound very glamorous. Oh, investment banker. My answer has always been, as a student, and now forget the others, I feel you first do internships. तुमको बैंकर बनना है, do internships. You may come back and say, यार ये नहीं करना था मेरे को, ये तो बहुत boring है. You know what you perceive.
Experience that.
Now imagine somebody spends 5 years studying a subject, and then when you get into the profession, you realize, यार ये तो
नहीं करना था.
So crazy.
बाहर से everything looks glamorous.
तो ये internships therefore are a must. Whatever you think you want to do, spend a month, 2 months in that kind of
real
an
life
office,
work experience.
then realize if you still enjoy it, then get into it.
Brilliant.
So then that will make sense.
But coming back to my question, finance होता क्या है?
That's what I said. ये सब finance है. So आपको choose करना है, आपको किस area of finance में जाना है. You want to be an insurance fellow?
Right.
You want to be a investment banker and help companies raise funds, etc., etc. You like stock market. Stock market में क्या करोगे? Broker बनोगे या analyst बनोगे? उसके हर एक सब items.
Understand the stream. You know, at Let's Enterprise, we like to think that, you know, for a business person or an entrepreneur, we need to know certain important things about every aspect of business, whether it's marketing or it's sales or whether it is, you know, technology. We need to know the nichod, you know, the few things that really matter. Or आप जो सिखाते हो, that is the nichod of finance. Even your bestseller book, Romancing the Balance Sheet, I mean, it talks about finance in such a simple and clear way. It gives you literally the essence or the nichod. So what would be the 2 or 3 nichods that you would like to give to any young entrepreneur, you know, before you start a business? ये ध्यान में रखो.
I've said it very, very often. Those who have watched my other podcasts will find it repetitive and boring, but let me repeat once again.
You must.
Because they are worth repeating. Number one, business that you run is not about sales, it's about profit. It's not about top line, it's about bottom line. There cannot be a bottom line with a top line. So top line, equally important. But we are not interested in any top line. Don't bring any sale. The sale that you bring, the prices that you quote, the terms on which you sell, the credit period that you offer to the customer has to be such that it results in a positive bottom line. So first blunder people make, focus is totally on top line, and then kabhi top line ऊपर जा रही होती है, bottom line नीचे आ रही होती है, whole purpose gets defeated. Second thing, entrepreneurs realize, unfortunately the hard way, that profit is different from bank balance. Profit and cash flow, 2 different things. So profit doesn't mean money. And therefore, cash flow management is as important as profitability.
Different from bank balance. Very hard hitting statement.
और bank balance होना भी जरूरी है.
I may have profit but I have no money in the bank.
Minus bank balance. Minus हो सकता है. मैं एक इलस्ट्रेशन जब देता हूं तो 1000 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट माइनस 600 करोड़ का बैंक बैलेंस. एब्सोल्युटली पॉसिबल. सो if somebody asks me what are the 2 pillars on which successful businesses stand, I think number 1 profitability, number 2 cash flow. आपकी बिजनेस प्रॉफिट बना रही है तो आपने आधा बैटल जीता है. अदर हाफ डिपेंड्स ऑन योर एबिलिटी टू मैनेज कैश फ्लो. नंबर 3, द मोस्ट, मेरे पास 2 गोल्डन रूल्स हैं. You know, finance, as you said, finance can be a subject that can take years to learn, but an entrepreneur wants nichod, like you said, and I have done that, because when I stand in front of groups of people and I go on and on, finance इतना important है. दुनिया में 100 में से 95 businesses जो डूबते हैं because of bad finance management, etc. At the end of it, they are convinced, okay Anil, and finance management, finance department में नहीं हो रहा, accounts हो रहा है. तब होगा जब सब लोग समझेंगे कि मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. देन द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन दे हैव फॉर मी इज, ओके अनिल, आई एग्री, आई अंडरस्टैंड, अब मेरे को बताओ व्हाट इज गुड फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट. एंड देन माय आंसर यूज्ड टू बी, यार ये तो सालों लगेंगे. ऐसे दैट्स नॉट फेयर. राइट. कैन आई गिव यू अ मैजिक फॉर्मूला? तो हमने 2 रूल्स बनाए हैं. कंप्लीट कन्विक्शन इज, आप ये 2 रूल फॉलो करो. वेरी इजी. Very easy
Okay.
to understand.
Just
Not
two
not
rules.
rocket science. 2 rules. You promise me you will not violate these 2 rules. I will promise you. Most problems that others suffer from on account of bad finance management, you will not.
Wow.
आज उसका टाइम नहीं है. You 2 रूल 5 मिनट में दे सकते हैं, लेकिन 2-2, 3-3 घंटे एटलीस्ट, सालों नहीं. So if I have the whole day, we arm them fully with it. So उसमें से one rule, again it's related to profitability and cash flow. One rule is about don't ever use short-term money to acquire long-term assets.
Brilliant.
This sounds easy, but you bring me 10 sick companies' balance sheets. At least 8 I will show you were sick because they use short-term money for long-term purposes. So my recommendation when I'm addressing groups of entrepreneurs is, ये session खत्म होते ही, I suggest on the way home or on the way to office, please go via the market, acquire a slab of stone, get a personal commitment engraved on it that I will never repeat, use short-term money for long-term purpose, and then go and install that stone somewhere where you get a chance to look at it and read every
damn day
as a reminder. It's that.
Brilliant. Never use short-term money for long-term
Long-term.
uses. As simple as that. And there's a second rule for which people will have to read your book, Romancing the Balance Sheet. But romancing the balance sheet, and normally when we think of finance, today the focus, finance is a buzzword today. Everybody, we all want to learn finance. Youngsters, teenagers, school kids, everybody wants to get into
वो
finance.
लोग
but-
इंटरप्रेट करते हैं फाइनेंस मतलब म्यूचुअल फंड, स्टॉक मार्केट.
Exactly. तो हम finance को सोचते हैं, it's about trading and saving and equity, and why not? It is all that. But can you help us understand the distinction between personal finance and
I think
business
broadly they
finance?
break it into 3: personal, corporate, business finance, and national.
National finance?
Equally important for nations. On a personal level, if your finance management is good, obviously you'll be better off. क्योंकि you'll see many people, 2 लोग हैं, एक ज्यादा कमाता है, दूसरा कम कमाता है, मगर वो ज्यादा वाला हमेशा शॉर्ट ऑफ मनी होता है, हमेशा क्रिब कर रहा होता है, और वो कम वाला कभी कभी वेरी वेरी कंफर्टेबल बिकॉज उसकी फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट इज बेटर. I put out the Sunday musings.
Yes, every Sunday
The
a
other-
message comes from you.
The other day I was writing in the Sunday musing, if there are 2 people, one with much higher income, but lack of ability to invest. Second, with a lower income, but who understands how to invest. The second fellow in the long run will be far better off than the first one.
Wow.
So this is all personal finance.
This is on personal
Finance. Then in a business level, if you don't understand finance management, 90 to 95% businesses in the world, undisputed figure, fail due to not understanding that critical. Nations collapse because they don't understand finance management. Entire subprime crisis of United States can be attributed to bad finance management.
finance
There are
management.
countries in Europe, Greece, Portugal, Spain, Italy paying the price of bad finance management. Venezuela, South America, Sri Lanka. So at every level, finance management is important.
Crazy.
India में 1991 से the whole scenario has changed because country's finance management changed.
Absolutely. So this is what every Sunday you send out a message
I
called
send
Sunday Musings.
Sunday
and
Musings.
if anyone wants to join this community of yours, Anil, is there a number or an email that they can connect
As we
with?
speak right now, what I've done is, it struck me very late. Why not put it on my website, a QR code?
Brilliant.
So as we speak now on our website, we are getting a QR code. So the people who visit the site, if they say, I want to receive your Sunday musings, scan the code, join the group, and you'll start
Fantastic.
getting.
So, Dr. Anil Lamba sends Sunday musings on finance every Sunday by WhatsApp. And if you want to subscribe to that, please go to www.anillamba.com and scan the QR code. Wonderful pieces of advice that are friendly for everyone on finance.
And joining the group is absolutely free of cost, obviously.
So, okay, let me change gears a little bit. We have crypto, you have Bitcoins, you have creator economy. Are the old rules of finance still applicable, Anil, or do we need a new playbook?
There are no old rules of finance. These are age old, which will applied 1,000 years back, will apply 1,000 years ahead. That's why this book, which is on Sunday Musing, is called Timeless Wisdom on Finance. because all these principles are timeless.
These are basic fundamental principles. Like 1
if
plus
I
1
tell
is 2.
if you make this for 80 rupees, don't sell it for 70, sell it for 90. This can't go out of fashion. Correct? So,
Which is what we call as Marwadi Buddhi.
this is a lovely cup, incidentally.
Thank you.
Let's enterprise and karo.
That's our philosophy. #Karo. Don't just think about it.
Lovely.
Get into action. Anil, like I said, I was 18 or 19 when I first did your course, right? And I know that
Prior to that, your mom had also done
prior to that, my mom, and then she sent me.
Yeah.
And it was a fascinating experience because right next to me was the owner of a 500 crore company, and then across the table was a lady who was a big investment manager, and people who are entrepreneurs. And here is this 18-year-old person, waking up in the morning at 7:30 and turning up to learn finance. And I know even today you have teenagers and you have people who are chairman of companies
And retired people.
So you kind of cut
all
across
kinds,
age
all
groups.
kinds.
So I want to ask you specifically, I mean, for a teenager, what is it that you think 2 or 3 things that they need to understand, and why is it important for them?
No, teenagers more so, because the others who come to me, the senior people, are the ones who gone, made mistakes, paid the price, and then realized, I better learn. The teenagers are the one who are just about getting on in life. I mean, if they learn before they start, they need not make those mistakes. I remember my son sat through my session when he was in 8th standard.
Really?
And I think he understood most of it. And today, at 25, he's a very, very successful entrepreneur. I don't want to take credit for it, but I think a lot of his success can be attributed to his financially intelligent decision making.
Wow.
When I started this program, I myself was in my 20s, but the average age group of attendees was 50s. And then somebody came to me and said, Anil, I did this very late in life, but my son who's in college, can I send him? My reaction was, no, he may not understand. My fault, my bad. But that's what I thought. But then one day it so happened, somebody enrolled the son. And then I realized this youngster in the class used to give smarter answers than the senior guys. Since that day, I stopped being judgmental. Then gradually the bar kept getting lower and lower. Younger people started coming in. I've had people in before passing out of school, and without exaggeration, I say so, among the smarter people in the class I found have been those guys. In the previous batch, I had a girl who was probably still in her teens or just out of school, extremely smart.
Amazing.
So I think on the other hand, like you said, people running thousands of crores of businesses are also attending. A High Court judge attended.
Wow.
I said, why are you doing? Such a lovely person. He said, Anil, I get cases on finance and sometimes I what did he say? I find it difficult to pass judgment. Such an honest man. 7:30 a.m. before the rest of the class, he'll be sitting over there.
And look at that spirit of learning.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. You're saying that, at a young age, you should start. But, isn't it boring? I mean, who wants to learn balance sheets and profit and loss? I mean,
I said some time back, one of the misconceptions is boring. Finance can be, it should be called a session on entertainment.
Really? Yeah? I love
And when anybody says, Anil, I think finance is boring, I tell them, I'm talking about money. How can money ever be boring?
Can't deny that.
Impossible.
No, brilliantly put. So, okay, if I had to tell you this, for a let's say for a young teenager, what are 2 or 3 things that you would kind of want to tell them, if you had to pitch to them, finance for dummies, 2 or 3 things that would, yaar, ye samajh lo, and that might interest them in learning finance.
See, my next book is Finance for Kids.
Right.
Kids and young adults, so 12 to 20. One of the things I encourage all the kids to do is to start the habit of saving and investing early. Investing.
Saving and investing.
Let me put it as investing. One of my quotes in my Sunday musing is, a penny saved is a penny wasted. A penny invested can build you a fortune. So saving, no use. Investing. Everyone talks about the power of compounding.
Yes.
Now, compounding, you won't even make out the difference. You invest compound interest versus simple interest. You invest at simple interest versus compound. 5 years down the line, the difference between the two would be hardly. 10 years, little more. 15 years, 20, 25, 30 years, pulls apart.
Changes the
So
whole game.
the compounding effect sets in 20, 25, 30 years later. Now, somebody in the teens starts investing now. That is the person who can enjoy the benefit
The
of
earlier you
compounding.
begin, the quicker you reach that
Now,
25, 30
if you start
year mark.
investing in the 40s and 50s, वो compounding का benefit enjoy करने को time नहीं मिलता. So the youngsters have to start investing early, and therefore they need to learn how to invest. You want to learn how stock markets work. One of the things in investing is learn how to beat inflation.
Learn how to beat inflation.
It has to. People think I put money in FD, so my money is invested. Right? Damn it, very often inflation is higher than the FD interest. So your money is not growing, it's actually depleting.
Right.
So, and the one place that can beat inflation is stock market. So everybody has to learn how to invest in stocks and other things.
And help us understand this, that even someone who's interested in personal finance, in investing and trading and so on, why do they also need to understand balance sheets and profit and loss statements?
See, they need to understand, because if they want to invest in stocks, how do you choose stocks? How do you choose fundamentally good companies?
Right.
For that, if you don't understand financial statements, you can't make out, right?
So looking at a balance sheet is like a doctor using a stethoscope.
Absolutely. No,
It tells
it's
you
like a
what's
blood
going
test
on.
report. Like a doctor using a pathology report, then he knows, okay, so balance sheet is like that.
It gives you the essence of what's going on inside the company.
It tells you everything about a company. Everything that happens in an organization is contained in two financial statements, a P&L and a balance sheet. And the third one, of course, is the cash flow statement, which tells you about the cash flow part.
Right. Up to like a couple of decades back, learning finance was, if you were doing a specialized course or maybe for CAs and things like that. But today, we all want to learn finance, and even schools at a school level, teaching finance has become important. So it's brilliant that you're coming out with this book on finance for kids. So schools and colleges are also wanting to teach finance. But if I had to ask you, Anil, very directly, that, one big gap in terms of the way finance is being taught in business schools or in business colleges, what's the one big gap, or maybe two, that you think is wrong about the way we are teaching and learning finance?
I don't know why, I should not say so, but I don't know why it happened to all of us also. In colleges, they make it sound so boring. More people get put off by the subject at that stage. I feel so bad. It is a fascinating subject.
We need a teacher like you.
But it's one of the most exciting subjects. So I think the people who make it boring are committing a crime. And then the price paid is somebody stays away from it. And then 90 to 95% business failures happen because of bad finance management. And that is because the real finance people stay away from it.
The seeds are being planted right there because it's being taught in a boring way.
Correct. So if they understood how this subject can be so fascinating, more people would come. And that's what is needed, actually. So,
Anil, I have to tell you this, and I've told you this before, that I think today what we do with Let's Enterprise, the real inspiration, you are one of them. Because I remember back in my 20s when I was doing engineering, and we had met you maybe in one of the sessions, and you had a vision of transforming undergrad education in India. You brought in a concept called Lamcon University, which is also today the name of your firm. But I remember you brought a very unique, innovative, experiential learning program. This was in the mid-90s.
We had a program called SIMP, Student Industry Mentorship Program.
Student Industry Mentorship Program. And you began this in which year?
This was late 90s, early 2000.
Early 2000.
That's when I set up my B school. Now, B school was postgrad. And then we said those who are undergrads, particularly commerce students, they get free around 10, 11 in the morning. Now, rest of the day at that age, what do? You while away your time.
Exactly.
So we said we started a course. We said you finish your college and come to us. We will send you for 1 month of internship. Then 1 month you come back for classroom training, nothing curriculum based. Soft skills, writing, presentations, project reports. 1 month classroom, 1 month internship. 1 month classroom, 1 month internship. 1 month classroom. Now imagine somebody who comes to us in first year of college, 3 years to go. We would have made him undergo about 20 internships. And we made sure every time the industry changed. We'll send you to some IT, next time we'll send you to a bank, next time we'll send you to a manufacturing. Now imagine this guy is ready to go join a B school.
What level of
Can you imagine a guy fresh, whereas this fellow head and shoulders ahead of those guys? So that we ran for some time.
That's a very innovative thing, and this is exactly what we are trying to do now with Let's Enterprise. So that's why, you're my OG inspiration. But I want to ask you, what is the gap that you saw? Because you had been dealing already with businesses and entrepreneurs. So there must have been a gap that you saw in the system that you were trying to plug with this.
Gap we saw because we've gone through it ourselves. We all studied the same way, and we realized the practical understanding was missing.
Practical
understanding. Once you understand that, everything you see in a different light. So, and the idea was, why are you whiling away your time at this age, precious age? But not their fault. College is over, nothing to do. They'll be sitting with friends doing nothing. So this way, those who do this, I used to say, even if at the end of it, you don't go to a B school, you'll capability-wise be better than a guy who's finished his MBA.
Absolutely. You learn from that school of hard knocks. Because, Anil, for me, I serve the youth. I aim to serve the youth, and I want them to connect with you, because there is a lot of financial information that we are getting, and brilliantly so, because it's superb that we are flooded with all this. But I think it's important for you to connect with fundamentals, some common sense stuff like the nichod that you're talking about, right? So how would you say that? What should they look at? Are there some resources available? You have the Sunday musings, because it's important that young people learn how to focus on some fundamentals and, cut some of the clutter away.
See, हमने हमारा matter तो public domain में डाल ही दिया है ना. I have written so many books where whatever I teach, we don't dilute anything. My point is, we may charge huge amounts from a corporate. But somebody who can't afford it, he'll get the same content. We don't give you inferior content. Same person, because उसमें भी मैं ही हूँ. Classroom में खड़े होके मैं बोल रहा हूँ, तो video में भी मैं ही हूँ. At a much lower. Then same content can go even lower if you go to e-learning. Even lower than that, in a few 100 rupees, you can buy the book. So right from people who want to spend in hundreds to people who want to spend in lakhs, we have answers for all of them, and we've already captured it and brought it out.
And for someone who's a young college student, or someone who's beginning their career and considers themselves as a non-finance person, what's a book you would recommend? Which of your
Start
books?
with Romancing the Balance Sheet. If you have already read Romancing the Balance Sheet, then there's a book called Eye on the Bottom Line, which actually I should have titled it as Romancing the Balance Sheet Part 2.
Right.
Between them, they cover all the stuff you need to understand to run a business. I have a book on personal finance called Financial Affairs of the Common Man. And if your stock market is your area of interest, we got Flirting with Stocks. So there is something for everybody. There's,
one of the ideas that has really taken hold in our mindsets today is financial freedom. Right. And another term that we hear is passive income. So we all want to figure out how to, earn passive income. And there are many people who are talking about, means of, compounding and getting to that state of financial freedom. But I have a fundamental question. कि ये समझ में कैसे आता है कि I have reached financial freedom?
when you are earning enough without working to meet all your needs, and then you're working only because you enjoy the working, not for the money. That is financial freedom. Some people have to work क्योंकि पैसा चाहिए. वो freedom नहीं है ना. So I think when people, ये सब concept मेरे को भी समझते नहीं है, ये नवे हैं, but I am guessing. So financial freedom is, you don't have to work.
You work because you want to work. Okay, that's interesting. But ऐसा होता है, you can get there.
Everybody's objective should be to have 4, 5, 6 sources of income, so that you never know which source may dry up when.
Right.
So if you have a single source and that source dries up, then what do you do? So one is from investments, another could be from property, another could be from somewhere else.
So okay, so a state where you don't have to work for money, but let me ask you this: how do you get there? Because when we watch a lot of content around financial freedom, the idea and the image in our mind is living a luxurious life, not having to do things that we don't want to do, etc., etc. But on the other side, it's also about being saving, being conservative on certain things. And like in another podcast, in another episode of Spirit of Enterprise, Namita Thapar said ki mehnat to karni padegi, right? So there is still that side of grunt work and that grind. And
I may put it differently. When you're enjoying it, वो मेहनत नहीं लगती. मेहनत तो करते हैं हम भी. I don't know from when I used to start my day at 6 a.m. end it at 9:30.
अच्छा.
But I was not ending at 9:30 रो के. I used to come home grudgingly. यार चलो सोना ही पड़ेगा. And couldn't wait कि उठूं कब उठूं और कब निकलूं.
Wow.
Till you sleep in. आज तक ऐसे. Fortunately it's still there. Till you sleep कि यार कब सुबह हो के कब स्टार्ट करूं.
क्या बात.
That मेहनत थोड़ी मेहनत लगती है. When somebody says you छुट्टी लेनी है, क्यों छुट्टी लेनी है? I mean, why do you want to take छुट्टी from fun? So anybody who says, so therefore I don't understand retire early. Retire early वाला बोल रहा है my work is torture. कब खत्म करूं उसको? First of all, I pity that fellow. वो काम कर रहा है क्यों है यार जो torture लगता है.
So, you can really see the joy on his face. But I'll tell you, ये जो आप बोल रहे हो, being able to find that work जो doesn't feel like work, it is, all of us want to find that. Okay?
Yeah, let me not belittle that.
No, but
I think
it's important.
It's a blessing to have it.
But I also think, Anil, I think you hit upon, I think there's a certain mindset, keeping that in mind. I think I found this work that I enjoy, which I can do 18 hours a day and still come back excited.
Correct. You're on the same point. Exactly.
I found that at the age of 36. But I found it. I think I'm still blessed that I found it at 36.
Correct.
But anything, that comes to your mind that you'd like to tell people watching this episode, couple of things to keep in mind, or, couple of ways to kind of go about the early years of career so that the probability of hitting that is higher.
No, that's why I was about to say that maybe, one is lucky because I happened to choose a field, not by design, but by fluke, a field which everybody needs. Finance, if I teach, now nobody can say I don't need to learn that. So one happens to be in a field which I love, I enjoy, and it has a market. So ये वो ikigai का concept है ना?
Yes.
वो ikigai हमारे साथ by fluke हो गया.
By fluke हो गया.
अब by design कैसे? So everybody may not be as fortunate. So therefore I feel one should not say कि कुछ लोग कर सकते हैं, कुछ लोग नहीं. But intention should be find your ikigai.
Keep that in mind.
Exactly.
Right? And also, I mean, the program that you had started with Lancome University, where you're doing apprenticeship.
That helps you understand. Now, you could have this problem of, मेरे को finance में जाना है, और फिर किस में जाना है, banking में जाना है. सारा पढ़ाई करने के बाद नौकरी मिलने के बाद बोला ये तो मजा नहीं आता, boring है. Then it's a pity. And therefore, you've gone wrong in your approach to the whole thing. So go through internships, understand. Once you are clear, हाँ यार ये तो बहुत मजेदार है. Then if you get into it, ये हो सकता है. Then you will not even think about retire early. You want to retire late, as late as possible. So that's the point.
Nice. Is there a gender angle to finance? Why I'm asking this is because until a couple of decades ago, money and money matters were considered as a male domain. That's now changed in the last couple of decades. In fact, I think sometimes ladies are smarter with finance than men. I remember my nani. While my Nana was out there, doing business and doing all this and that, but she was very smartly saving, buying gold and putting it into a tijori. And in some of the tough times, some of the difficult times, I know from stories I've heard, wahi kaam aaya.
And they did that because they were not educated in the field of finance. Imagine the person with that temperament now.
I need to stop you there. They did that because they were not educated in the field.
I'm saying they did that gold vagera because they didn't understand other things about investing. Now imagine that mindset married with knowledge about finance. that can do wonders, na?
So that you're talking now, that's interesting. So you're talking about a mindset.
हाँ, वो तो इंस्टिंक्ट से कर रहे थे. हाँ, माइंडसेट तो था उनका. सेविंग करना है, ये करना है, बचाना है, वो करना है, और बचाने के तरीके पता नहीं है. स्टॉक मार्केट मालूम नहीं कैसे चलता है. अगर पता होता, so that would have done.
तो अगर हम वो mindset अपना सकते हैं and bring some knowledge into it, correct, then it becomes a superpower.
Correct. So it is gender neutral, absolutely, gender agnostic.
I want to ask you about this thing that we call as entrepreneurial mindset. You are an entrepreneur yourself. You deal with and train entrepreneurs all the time. What is, if you have to boil down to a few things, what is that thought or mindset or, for lack of a better word, kida, that you see common in people who have this entrepreneurial mindset, and not necessarily people who are owners of businesses, even if they are working somewhere or a part of an organization, but have that entrepreneurial mindset. How would you kind of pin that?
I think if you can find a solution to some problem, entrepreneurship starts with that.
If you can find a solution to some problem.
आजकल की new age businesses, look at Zomato, for example.
Right.
The problem was, where do I get food from? So you're trying to find a solution to that. Mark Zuckerberg, how do I create a community of friends? So आपका एक problem दिखा आपको, आपने Uber. The fellow couldn't get a cab. कहाँ फ्रांस में था, कहाँ था. So he thought of the idea. So you're finding a solution. लोगों का problem. So any problem you see, and if you think you can, so that mindset is what creates an entrepreneur, I think.
As simple as that. Huh? First, पहले तो problem मिले.
हाँ.
And then you commit to solving that problem.
प्रॉब्लम तो आपको रोज मिलते रहते हैं. हम कई बार उसको टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड. ओके, ये नहीं हो रहा, चलो कुछ और होता है. टैक्सी नहीं मिल रही, हजारों को टैक्सी, लाखों को टैक्सी नहीं मिली होगी, मगर एक आदमी ने सोचा मैं क्या करूं इसको, हाउ डू आई सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम. The moment you start thinking about solving a problem, you became an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So problems हर जगह हैं.
प्रॉब्लम हर जगह है, आपको निकालना है.
हाँ, तो प्रॉब्लम हर जगह है, लोग हर जगह हैं.
Correct.
लेकिन what is it
there
about
are business ideas staring you in the face, but you don't recognize
everywhere.
Everywhere.
And what is it about some of these people who see the problem and take that? What is it? If you have to put a word to it, or if you have to describe it, what makes some people do the crazy thing of trying to solve it?
I very often talk about this कि हमने जब ये B school start किया था ना, I remember Indian Express organized a debate. 4 of us were invited, 4 directors of 4 management institutes, and topic given to us was, can entrepreneurship be taught in colleges? मेरा आंसर था no. I think you are either an entrepreneur or you are not. Temperaments.
Right.
Entrepreneurship skills can be honed.
Right.
But there are some people who can only work under an umbrella. मेरे को structure दो, I can do. वो employee में खुश है, he may do wonders. There are some people who can't work, they have to be on their own. So ऐसे लोग are already entrepreneurs. उनको अभी तक वो idea आई नहीं, वो problem नहीं आया. It's a matter of time before they will become entrepreneurs.
Brilliant. So that kida, that
kida exists.
Desire, it exists.
Now what they should do is hone the skills. Finance सीखो. Many entrepreneurs गलती करते हैं, बाकी चीजें सीखते हैं, finance नहीं सीखते. And then eventually अच्छे business डूब जाते हैं. So you got to understand, now that I am an entrepreneur, I may be minuscule in size. Now to become a success, what do I need? Gaps क्या हैं? Knowledge gaps. उनको acquire करो
and fill those up.
I must tell you, I don't want to name names, but ये B school में we were taken over. So this person who came to take us over, wonderful person, very, very wealthy. He wanted to give back to society. Just to be calm. He used to sit down in the takeover process every day. He used to say, Anil, can we call today some HR strategy expert? उसके जरा pick his brains. किसी दिन दूसरा marketing expert. तो मैं अपने connection में से बुला लेता था. Now the biggest of experts sitting over there, this guy just to be calm. Very humbly, he will ask a question and then and I used to realize this guy knows more than that expert in every subject. So one day I asked him, यार, आपने कुछ आगे पढ़ा भी नहीं. how do you know so much? He said, I had to take over my business. Extremely safe. If I name names, everybody will recognize the name. He said, my mother was there and then I had to take over very early. So I couldn't study. But what I did was I started reading books. Michael Porter, ये सारे experts की marketing पे,
that's how he learned.
He says, Anil, मैं पढ़ता था और मैं वैसे के वैसे implement करता था. It used to work like magic.
That's the magic one, huh?
That is it.
पढ़ता था और implement करता था.
He didn't get degrees. So I'm saying as an entrepreneur, you understand the gaps. You don't have to go to expensive schools.
Right.
Pick up resources, read, imbibe them, implement. That will make a recipe for success.
Brilliant. पढ़ना और implement करना. Learning and hashtag करो.
Correct.
Since you spoke about this, I meet a lot of people who want to start a business only because मुझे 9 to 5 काम नहीं करना है. I don't want to work under somebody. I want to have my own freedom. I want to be my own boss. Now, my question is that a great motivation, and is that really what entrepreneurial mindset is? Because
see, as I said, by temperament you are or you're not. If a fellow is not, and just because he sees everybody want that freedom, he wants all that, करेगा तो वो fail हो जाएगा. So either it's there, if it is there in you, you'll make a success out of it.
Right. And is it that only the owner of a company is an entrepreneur, or today we look at entrepreneurial mindset as leaders in the company?
Entrepreneur
and
employees.
Several entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
How do you see this aspect, Anil? Because
No, I completely agree. What we need, every organization should develop entrepreneurial employees.
Right.
So everybody has to think like an owner. In fact, finance management will only be at its best when everybody think like an owner. मैं एक कंपनी को ट्रेन कर रहा था जयपुर में, large company, a few thousand crore turnover. The sons had taken over. Father was backseat. So before training, courtesy, met the old man. He said, Anil ji, हिंदी बोलते थे वो, अनिल जी उनको बताना मेरे लोगों को, देखो घर में थोड़ा भी लाइट ऑन हो तो उनको लगता है बंद करना चाहिए, है ना, ठीक है, वेस्ट नहीं होना चाहिए. मेरे शॉप फ्लोर पे जाओ, आपको 8-10 लाख का माल जमीन पे गिरा हुआ दिखेगा, उनको बताओ इसकी तकलीफ क्यों नहीं होती. ये तकलीफ होना is entrepreneurs. Those who think like an owner will not let that happen. Those who don't care.
Hard hitting. Because it's really about this takleef, this scare.
And the way he put it, उनको सिखाओ कि इसकी तकलीफ क्यों नहीं होती. घर में छोटा सा कुछ हो रहा है तो फील होता है ना. So that is what we need to bring.
और जिसके पास वो mindset हो, the scare and the solution seeking mindset, they will grow wherever they are.
Exactly.
Okay, a lot of people, I think the world is kind of divided into two people. Numbers people and people who think that we are not numbers people, right? And I would love to ask you, because you have written Romancing the Balance Sheet, right? How do we, what can we tell the non-numbers people?
I think we should not call them non-numbers. I think there are people who generate and create the numbers, and there are others who read, interpret and understand numbers. Boring is the generation वाला. आप वो accountant का काम है. जिसको अच्छा लगता है account, बहुत बढ़िया. जिसको नहीं अच्छा लगता, stay away from it. Let somebody do it for you. But what you cannot stay away is from the understanding, the interpretation, the reading part.
Right. Everyone needs to do that.
So there are two types of people: one who generate numbers, others who need to understand.
You say this often that people who can make a balance sheet most of the time can't read a balance sheet.
May not be able to, but those who need to read a balance sheet need not know how to make it.
They need not know how to make it. As long as you can read the balance sheet and you can understand, just like a doctor reads a blood report, what's going on.
Ratan Tata abhi nahi hai, God bless his soul, but I used to do a lot of training for Tatas. I used to always tell them that, Mr. Ratan Tata can afford to say, I don't know how to make a motor car, and no big deal. Tata Motors can continue flourishing. But if Mr. Ratan Tata had ever said, I don't know how to read a balance sheet, he would have jeopardized the fortunes of the entire group.
Powerful stuff.
Correct.
Anil, is there is there a podcast or an influencer you would recommend, young people who are listening to this to follow? I know they should all follow you and read your books,
yes, you are.
but is there a someone who you think is talking a language that you think young people should hear?
I haven't seen much. I know in personal finance there are a lot of people. There is Sharan Hegde who's doing a good job. There is Kushal Loda who does, but वो finance पे नहीं और भी चीज़ों पे करता है. But unfortunately, I have not seen many others. So there might be, so I don't want to be unfair on them. But yeah, guys, look up, find some podcasters, maybe influencers, see if you benefit from them. If you do benefit, continue, because you can't paint everybody by the same brush. Just make sure they're genuine people, that's all, because this industry is also full of quacks. So stay away from those quacks.
Even beyond finance, but matters related to business and entrepreneurship, any podcasters who have got your imagination and you kind of like the content that they're putting out there and you would recommend?
No,
to young
unfortunately, not because they're not there, they must be there. मुझे नहीं पता. I live in a little world of my own. I'm an island. I don't know beyond me और क्या दूसरे लोग क्या करते हैं.
You're not an island, you're a world, and we need to get many people into your world.
So I'm sure there are, but I don't know about them. मगर corporate business finance में there are not too many.
Not
जितने
too
personal finance में 500 होंगे तो यहाँ एक होगा. ऐसा है.
So
that
exactly,
kind of a
in
thing.
personal finance, there's a lot of content, a lot of influencers. Corporate finance is, kind of an exclusive club, but I think you're one of the only people I know who is making things like balance sheet, business finance accessible to everyone, and who says that financial literacy for all.
Financial literacy for all.
Brilliant.
True.
Great stuff. With that, we are coming to a rapid fire round.
Okay.
Anil, and I'd like to ask you just 5 questions.
Okay.
And each of the question, I would like you to answer one from that 18 or 20-year-old Anil Lamba's perspective and one from Anil Lamba's perspective today. Yeah? So, question number 1. What's your idea of fun? What would the 18-year-old Anil Lamba say and what does Anil Lamba say today?
18-year-old Anil Lamba had fun in... We were studying. The only entertainment was we used to play basketball, we used to play table tennis. I started CA very early in college. So on the way home from articleship, we used to stop by, play a couple of games of table tennis before we go for classes. So this was the only entertainment available then. And then after that, fortunately, I started loving my field so much that there is this total mishmash between my work and my pleasure and everything. So my work is fun, so there's nothing else I need beyond that.
Wonderful. Okay, question number 2. What's your idea of a perfect career? What would 18-year-old...
Perfect career then and now is something that, people used to say, I get Monday morning blues. I used to get Saturday evening blues.
I love that. Yes. I love that. Saturday evening blues.
Even if I want to work on Sunday, दूसरे काम नहीं करते. यार करूँ क्या? Monday तक करूँ क्या? So that is my idea of perfect career. Something that you want to wake up and go there rather than dread going.
Beautiful.
So that's
beautiful. Okay, question number 3. What's your definition of cool? What would it have been back then and what would you call cool today?
Frankly, I don't understand that term. I think. So, attitude-wise, I think. But I don't really understand.
What's the attitude that would be that you would say?
You do what you like. You don't bother about what the world thinks. Don't bother. You wear what you like, of course, within the realm of decency. But so you do your own thing. You create your own path.
Beautiful.
And therefore, you lead the way rather than follow. I think that's cool.
Lovely. All right. So question number 4. How do you handle criticism at 18 years and today?
Criticism, one needs to cultivate the habit of looking at it dispassionately, which is difficult.
Right.
आजकल सोशल मीडिया पे हो सकता है लोगों को क्रिटिसिज्म मालूम पड़ जाती है. पहले होती होगी तो पता नहीं चलता था. तो वी वर ब्लिसफुली काइंड ऑफ प्रोटेक्टेड फ्रॉम इट. सो But yeah, that is a difficult thing.
It's a difficult.
That is a difficult thing to
And
not
important.
not to react emotionally to it. Think about it that there could be an element of truth. Every
Right.
criticism need not be wrong. If you can evaluate and see if there is merit in that criticism, then absorb the lessons and improve yourself. And if it is unjustified, then like water off a duck's back, don't let it bother you. Easier said than done, but that's the way it should be done.
Right.
So,
All right. And that comes to my final rapid fire question, which is the clincher. Success or happiness? What would you have thought then, and how do you look at it now?
if you are in a field where the activity is its own reward, then always happiness first, any case, happiness first. And if you choose happiness first, then success, money, fame will automatically follow. There is no two ways about it. But if you go after success, if you go after fame, you may not get that and you may not get happiness. It's a very funny thing. So the trick, coming back to the same question, choose something that you love. Then everything else will happen on its own.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Anil Lamba, for being on this episode of The Spirit of Enterprise and for bringing your vision of financial literacy for all and for making us realize the importance of understanding and being able to read balance sheets and profit and loss statements no matter who you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditya. I really enjoyed every minute of this. Thanks a lot.